Welcome to Scythe and Shield, a GrindExp Diablo 3 podcast. Hello, I am Dr. J Dredscythe, and I will lead you on this adventure through great discussions with great people about some of the larger topics of the day. Also getting beneath the BattleTag of the community personalities and get to know them a little more intimately. Today I will be interviewing a maestro of words with cutting to the heart of current events on Diablo 3, a passionate player not afraid to call Blizzard out on their stinks and their good things, but also knows when we should expect more from ourselves and leave the low-hanging fruit on the tree. Lastly, but certainly not least, a personal dear friend of mine to vent, think, and geek out all about Diablo 3 and more. Definitely more over the past year or two. So with that, I would like to welcome RTG Sibcoe to the show. Hello, Sibcoe.
Hey guys, what is up? Thanks for having me.
Alright. So, welcome to the show. Everything good? So what's been going on? How have you been in real life and such?
Real life is good. Real life gets in the way of Diablo 3, which is problematic. That being said, I am very impatiently waiting for tomorrow's festivities and the arrival of Reaper of Souls, of course, like many of our listeners are no doubt waiting, and no doubt you are waiting as well. So that's definitely been on my mind a lot in real life as well as in gaming. But real life is good. Real life is good.
Yeah. Real life always gets in the way of gaming action, especially when it comes to Diablo 3. Along with this whole, only 100% experience buff that we have this weekend, right?
Yes, that is absolutely driving me to reprioritize certain things, and I'm just still not finding enough time to take advantage of the mad EXPs that are available, although I see that certainly the community are taking advantage of them because Twitch has blown up with the amount of people watching Diablo 3 over the past week and a half or so, up to about 11,000 to 12,000 concurrent over the last day or so. Just going insane. People are pretty pumped for Diablo 3. No matter what you might hear to the contrary, people are pumped.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've also been checking Twitch for other reasons, but I also have noticed Diablo 3 getting up there in the views and just, rocking out the way it should be. The way it was, well, maybe not the way it was, but certainly getting back up to where it should be, where it deserves to be. So with what little time you may have played over the last week, have you gotten any kind of special drops or any special one-off moments in your playtime that you can recall?
I don't think any particular special drops, and frankly, I just haven't been that excited about drops just because, with the new expansion coming out, I'm pretty pumped for all the new sets and getting to 70, and I've played so much of the level 60 game now that it's more about, for me, just getting my character set up and ready. I think what I'm probably going to take away from this week that it's been pretty memorable is just looking through all the old gear and thinking about what do I not need anymore, what can I garbage forever, what is not necessary going into the expansion, and more importantly, what is necessary and what kind of items do I want to keep and what am I going to do with those items, and what am I going to play and how am I going to play it, and character prioritization for getting to 70, all this cool stuff that's really exciting is going to come to actually be executed on and played out tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tomorrow night. Yeah. We're there, folks. Tomorrow night.
Exactly.
0 hour is upon us. Alright, so let's move into the first part of the interview. Now, for those who are just tuning in, the way these interviews are started, there's a part A, which generic questions, help give a little insight to our guests, and then part B is I dub the best of times, worst of times segment. It's a rapid fire questions. I'll select 6 to 8 questions, shoot them out, try to get this answer or that answer. Try to catch our guests off guard, have a little fun, and then we'll move into the last part of the interview, which is, for this one, it's going to be particularly interesting. It's going to be Here and Back Again. That's the title and subject matter, where we've been almost a year ago till now, how much the game has changed, as well as discussing the Crusader itself. Just general how is the class, what are the unique parts of the class, and does it live up to the other heroes of Sanctuary? So with that, let's get to the first question. Where does your name come from? Is there any history behind it, or was it just, out of thin blue there?
Oops. That is actually a really good question. Where does my name come from, and is there anything behind it? So typically, I've been known by a lot of different names in the gaming community over the years, and some of them would be I'm absolutely certain that some people would know some of them quite well, depending on what games they played in the past. I've certainly been prominent in a number of communities over the very, very, very long time that I've been playing video games for, especially online games. And so from that point of view, I'd always picked names that were very meaningful, that had some kind of relevance to them. And that was just the way I did things. What's funny about the Sibcoe name is that it has no story behind it whatsoever. The Sibcoe name was completely generated because I liked how it sounded, and that was pretty much it. I liked how it sounded, and for me, names have like a kind of special meaning. Like, names carry a certain personality, and I felt that Sibcoe really kind of enunciated the core representation of who I am as a gamer. So I like that. And if you want to get into any of those kind of semantics about the name, you'll start to realize that it's actually a really good representation of the way I like game and who I am as a gamer. So that's why I picked it. I liked how it sounded, and it really represented me as a gamer pretty well.
All right, very good. Now I word this very carefully. If I could, there are out there, and they are in mass. So I have this in parentheses, as you saw. How old are you, if you dare?
Oh, God.
And what is your profession, work, study, whatever you would like the general masses to know?
Wow. So is old is that an actual numeric value?
If you would like, yes, it can be.
I am 37 years young.
I like how you put that.
Yes. Just starting out on this great journey of life, and much more to see and much more to do, but certainly a little bit more experienced than some. Let's put it that way. But yeah, what was the second part of that question?
Your profession, work, study.
Oh, yeah. I was so distraught by the first part. Sorry. So, yeah, work, generally, to keep it somewhat simple, I work with technology companies. I live in and around, the Bay Area, California. So basically, I focus on supporting companies that build and design software and services related to software, and I also help companies buy software. So
you're the quite essential tech middleman.
A little bit, yes, indeed.
All right. There's actually the next two questions we're gonna kind of combine. Help you out a little bit. What was the first?
Before you jump to the next question,
okay.
I will say one thing about work. Because of where I live and the kind of work I do, I have met some interesting people and seen some interesting things. One of the coolest things I have a picture of on my phone is of the original Facebook wall. So how everyone has a Facebook wall?
Mm-hmm.
I've actually signed and stood in front of the original Facebook wall near Stanford University area, where the company first had its original offices. And that was really cool to see before they moved to their new offices on Hacker Way, and their new buildings and new campus, but they had the original Facebook wall. It was really cool to see that. Anyway, that's work stuff. So
yeah, I can imagine that's probably like a weird sight, considering you can't see it anymore. So if you saw it, it's almost like a little bucket list thing. Like, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that stuff. I've mostly been on Google's campus and seen all the little Android and Jelly Bean and Gingerbread and ice cream, all the little statues they have for all the different OS releases in their kind of front lobby area. It's pretty cool. And yeah, I've seen a lot of cool companies and a lot of stuff like that most people probably don't get to see that often. So it's pretty fun.
Very nice. All right, like I said, I'll combine the next two for you. I have a feeling you may be able to answer in that way. what was your first time seeing or playing Diablo, and was there a particular person that was involved with that, or just being a younger version of yourself and just going out there?
Which Diablo? The original Diablo or Diablo 3?
The first instance of Diablo to enter your life.
Which would have been the original Diablo.
Okay.
Which I hacked the crap out of. And hopefully nobody gets upset about that at Blizzard. But yeah, the original Diablo was eminently hackable. There were map hacks and stuff like that in Diablo 2. But there were also lots of funny hacks you could pull off in Diablo 1. Not so much hacks. I mean, I would never hack anything in real life. It's just not who I am. But what I mean is there was certainly ways you could exploit game features that were not things that would not exist today. Because games are designed differently and more robustly. But certainly every available exploit that was in the game, I certainly took advantage of. So for me, Diablo 1 was a lot of fun. Just because some of those crazy things. There was a bug that you could exploit that essentially turned you invisible. You could play the whole game invisible. It was pretty funny. There was lots of stuff like that. But for me, the original Diablo was Diablo 1. That's the game that I played. That was really, really fun, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the first games to ever be online in an action RPG format. And it was a groundbreaking experience, and it changed the way people viewed video games. It changed the way we played video games, and it really set the pace, in my opinion, for a lot of how online gaming is done today. Diablo itself was around at that time and really, changed the landscape, as it were. And especially inaugurated the action RPG genre, which is a really cool genre. And it's something that I hope companies continue to invest in because it's a really fast-paced, easy access, low barrier to entry, tons of fun kind of genre, and I really, really like it. But yeah, for me, it was Diablo 1. Nobody in particular, no special person per se. I'd just picked it up and fell in love with it, and I've been in love with that genre ever since. I've been in love with the game ever since.
Very nice. Yes, BattleNet. BattleNet with StarCraft 1 and then eventually Brood War is where I kind of was with the whole online aspect. So I totally get the whole, first action RPG and it being on a multiplayer aspect online. It was very cool.
So I agree with you on that totally. I did actually play StarCraft 1 as well, and I did play it on BattleNet. I love Siege tanks. Siege tanks were awesome, and I played it. You asked me about a person. The only person I remember back from that period was a guy I used to play StarCraft with. Some people may or may not know him in the community. That's fine, but his name was Ziki. I used to play with a guy called Ziki. It was really, really cool, and we used to have a lot of fun times. And then I actually got into LAN tournaments. So before esports existed, I was playing in LAN tournaments and competitions for StarCraft 1, which was really, really fun as well. So, yeah.
Cool. The next question is, it's definitely different for multiple people who we've asked throughout the times, not just through interviews, but just and the question is essentially, what has kept you going through all the years with Diablo? What has either kept you playing, or at least at minimum kept with the series, been keeping up with the updates and such like that?
Wow, there's a lot of stuff there. I mean, it's really the love of the action RPG genre, but it's more than that. It's the love of the Diablo franchise. That eerie sounding music that plays, the soundtrack itself, the whole concept of the game, the drive to find that next piece of great loot, the discovery of building your character in different ways. All of that stuff is Diablo, and frankly, there have been very few, if any, action RPGs which have really done anything different in the genre besides Diablo. Diablo really is what other games copy. It's what other games want to be. And that's what really attracted me to the franchise as a whole, to stay with it over these last many, many, many long years. Many long years. I mean, you're talking the guts of 2 decades at a certain point, when you really look at it, you may not be at completely 2 decades, but you're talking about the guts of 2 decades. And frankly, one of the only games that has really moved the genre forward is Marvel Heroes, which is also by a number of team members who were instrumental in the original Diablo 2 and Diablo 1 team. So it's not surprising that they've created a game which is one of the only games to move the genre forward. Besides Marvel Heroes, the only game to move the genre forward any further is Diablo 3. And Diablo 3 went through a very bumpy period, as we all know, and I'm sure we'll talk about shortly, of
Definitely
redefining the genre and moving it forward. And before moving it forward, it definitely moved it back. But, we'll get to that. Overall, though, I think for me, it's just the nostalgia, the memory, the joy. There's so many great gaming experiences have come out of playing Diablo 2, Diablo 1. Those were awesome. Some of the people that I've met. One of the things that has sadly disappeared from the Diablo 3 and BattleNet 2 experience is the lobby experience of seeing all the characters currently logged into the game and having that representation of their little character icons. You can kind of see it a little bit in Diablo 3, but it's not the same. It's more it's a much smaller subset of that, and it's still really cool. But I really love just hanging out and chat with people in Diablo 2. Like you would just log into BattleNet and just hang out and chat even before you made games, and trading with people was really good. Oh dear, where'd that go? Anyway, trading's gone. There's a lot of really cool memories that have kept me going through the years, kept me really excited about the new incarnation of the game. And I think that's where the drive comes from, is to relive some of those memories and to create new memories. I think that's what a lot of people forget, is that in the excitement to relive old memories, you forget that you have to make new ones that you can then relive and be nostalgic about in the future. If you're only ever nostalgic about Diablo 2, that's just going to get further and further away. It's going to become older and older and older, and that's great. It's always good to have those memories, but if you're not creating new memories and new things to look back and be nostalgic about, you're missing out on a big portion of what it means to participate in the community and be a member of the community and actually enjoy gaming. Nostalgia is a great thing, but it can also be a very bad thing that prohibits you from actually enjoying your life as a gamer. So I think Diablo 3 is about creating new memories to experience and enjoy, and again, that keeps that drive going to want to keep playing the game.
Yeah, definitely. Living for the here and now as a general life concept is always a good one to live by, but also applying it to your gaming career, or however hardcore, we put those in parentheses, or casual, again, parentheses, you are. It's always just fun just to play the game for the now, because, like you said beautifully, I don't want to try to rephrase it anymore because you did it perfectly. Is if you really just play the game for what it is, as it is right now, and just play with your friends, or just even play by yourself, you'll find that you'll just enjoy it a whole lot more. And but like nitpicking and saying like, no, we want it to be like the old days. It just doesn't make for a fun experience. So long thing short, I totally agree, and this is why I like you as a friend, because you summed it up perfectly, ever so exquisitely. All right, so the last standard question. I know this is a loaded one, so keep it to the main point. What is probably your biggest hope, wish, not just for Diablo 3, but as the franchise going forward into Reaper of Souls and looking beyond this expansion to potentially at least another expansion on the way afterwards?
Oh man, that is a loaded question. Because it sort of inspires me to completely go back on what I just said, which is don't look back on things in terms of nostalgia. It does and it doesn't. What I mean by that is Diablo 3 is fundamentally a set of core systems, and those core systems are very immature. You have the crafting system, you have the Uber system, you have the Paragon system. There's even the set item system, which is, if you want to tie it in with itemization, it's a little bit more mature because it's picking up where Diablo 2 left off. But then you have, Champion Elite Pack system. You have all sorts of just little systems, the Mystic, they're not mature. They're very, very young, and they're very underdeveloped, frankly. What they do have is great, but it is underdeveloped. It is not nearly a representation of what could be and what they could accomplish with such awesome systems. I guess my biggest fear is that they don't either see that vision, or they don't have the time and resources to make that vision come to light, to really bring it to what it could be potentially. If they have the same kind of life expectation of Diablo 3 as they did of World of Warcraft, then that's great. They can bring those things to realization. They can make a reality of all these systems. If they're just going to look at it as a 5-year project, then it's never going to happen. My hope is that they want to have Diablo 3 be as long-lived as Diablo 2 was, as long-lived as StarCraft has been, as long-lived as, for example, World of Warcraft has been. And I hope they look at it in that respect, because these systems really need to be fleshed out and developed and grown and matured. In terms of stuff like PvP, I could care less about PvP. I've never been interested in PvP in Diablo games, and I never will be. I think it's the absolutely unequivocally wrong format for a PvP experience. And I know there are tons of people just like throwing things at their computer right now because they totally don't agree with that. And I respect that. But for me personally, it's not about that. For me, I think the time should be spent on fleshing out these core systems and making them more exciting. Stuff we've talked about in the past, stuff that we've looked at in the past, ideas, I mean, there's a struggle to get ladders put in the game, let alone, make crafting more unique and interesting. There's a lack of depth in Diablo 3 right now. And that's the only limitation on the game's replayability and on the game's absolute adoption by masses of people. People look for more depth. They want some complexity. Not complexity for its own sake, but complexity that gives you replayability, that gives you things to continually search and strive for. Diablo 3 lacks in that department right now. So where I'd like to see Diablo 3 grow is to give players more to strive for. I think if Blizzard go down this path of saying, here's your dinner, eat this Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls dinner, and when you're done with it, we won't give you any more. But when you've regurgitated it 6 times and eaten it 6 times, we still won't give you any more. But when you've regurgitated it 20 times and eaten it again, maybe we'll give you another X pack, and then you can, continue to eat and regurgitate that as well. I think that's a terrible model. I hope they don't go down that path. I hope they put systems in the game which translate from one X pack to the next, and that actually continue the journey and continue the actual experience of the game. Not just, hey, you've got all these cool items, all right, let's make them all crap and release a new expansion. And a whole new set of immature systems. I don't want that. So that's my goal, is that they build on systems, that they build on the core game, that they expand it, they grow it, and they make the game deeper. I think we have enough scope. I think we have enough systems. Let's drill down and make these systems much, much, much deeper so that players can really dive in and get absorbed in them.
Drill, baby, drill.
Definitely.
All right. So, perfect answer, and you did well on the time. All right. So that finishes up part A. Now we'll move on to part B. Fun time. This is the as I said before in the intro, this is the best of times, worst of times, and I'll randomly shoot out questions, hopefully to confuse you and make you go, oh, do I really have to pick one of these? Like, can I pick a third? I feel this is incriminating. Plead the fifth. Yeah, all that kind of fun stuff. So let's jump right into it. What is your favorite class from any of the Diablo game series?
My favorite class from any of the Diablo game series?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do I have to pick one of those?
Yeah.
I think is definitely going to be, without too much thought, the Amazon.
All right. Favorite plot moment from any of the Diablo game series?
Favorite plot moment?
Plot twist, anything like that.
Favorite one? Wow. And let me think of that. There are many. So let me think which one I particularly like the best. I don't know if it's a plot twist, but certainly plot elements. I'll answer this in two ways. There's two things I want to point out here. One is in Diablo 3. This is going to sound like a kind of cop-out answer because it's kind of obvious and it's a little bit too apropos, but it is true. I absolutely love the concept of Malthael. Malthael going from being this great angel to death. I really like that. I think it's one of the darker and better parts of the lore in general, even though Diablo 2 had some amazing lore. I might even sneak in a third thing here. So I really like that. I think overall, philosophically speaking, Diablo 3 goes deeper than some of the other lore. I think there's a lot of depth in the Malthael story. I think there's a lot of just really fascinating stuff to think about. And yes, that is a bloody big train in the background. Apologies. So I think it's really...
folks.
God damn that train. But I hear that some people find trains relaxing, so here's hoping. Mm-hmm. So I think that the thing that's really cool about Malthael is this concept of him being between worlds and becoming death, and there's all these interesting philosophical aspects to that part of the lore, which I really like. For example, when Tyrael tries to kill him with the sword and the sword doesn't kill him, why is that? And you start to look at all these different lore issues that people have or don't have answers to. I think there's a lot of stuff to play with there.
Definitely.
In Diablo 2, one of the things I really loved was, I think in Act 3, you walk out of town and there was this mysterious traveler in a hooded robe walking along and then just disappears. I think that was also not so much a lore piece, but it kind of is. And that was a really cool piece as well. So besides that, the third thing that I would mention is Wirt. I think Wirt is just one of the coolest non-existing characters in the game. I mean, it almost really doesn't exist. It's really just his leg that exists. But I love Wirt's leg. I think it's a really cool thing, and it's just been so relevant in the game. I'm disappointed Diablo 3 didn't do a little bit more with it than I think they could have done. I think they had a really great opportunity to do something exciting with Wirt. I think they missed out, and maybe they'll revisit that. But I think there's a lot of cool stuff that could have been done with Wirt. I think Wirt could have become the Harry Potter of the Diablo 3 world. I would have liked to have seen that.
Definitely. What class... Now, I'll be very precise with this question. What class you shouldn't be legally allowed to play for fear of bringing the entire class down a peg or two?
In other words, which class do I suck at so badly?
Nice way of saying it.
None of them. I'm the best pretty much player in the world at all of them.
Oh, you're pulling a Wyatt.
I think that if I had to really pick, honestly, it would be the monk. I'm really bad at the monk.
All right. What was your worst accidental salvage, if you care to admit it?
I don't, and I really don't want to revisit that memory. Yeah, no, we're not going to go there. Just know that it cost a lot.
Okay. It was so bad, we can't talk about it.
We can't talk about it. It was
shun the non-believer.
It was just a costly mistake. I think everybody's made a costly mistake at the hands of the salvage. In fact, not the most costly. I even did it 2 nights ago when I was playing the game. I'd kept out these great bracers that I was going to use, and sure enough, I salvaged them.
Yeah, we're all a little too quick on that salvage button. Like, all right. Next one is if you were the Grand Tsar and had the choice, next class to become playable, the infamous Necromancer or the Druid?
Not the Druid. The Druid's always been crap. Never liked it. Never want to see it in a game ever again. So if Blizzard are listening and are thinking of bringing the Druid back, you need to rethink that strategy ASAP. I think the Necromancer absolutely needs to be in the game. Just absolutely needs to be in the game. The end.
All right. If you had a follower in real life, would it be the Templar, the Scoundrel, or the Enchantress? And no, you can only pick one.
It would absolutely be the Enchantress.
All right. And lastly is, if you had just one, and I mean just one, Diablo class skill from any of the Diablo game series, yeah, we're making this tough, which one would it be?
Oh, damn. That's kind of a tough one, actually. Wow. Wow, there's so many really awesome scenarios that unfold here. Um, I think out of any one skill, one talent.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think about that for a second. I mean, let's be honest. There's who wouldn't want to, have Meteor, right? I mean, that's got to be pretty awesome. Let's see. If I didn't have Meteor, I would, or even even the steed, the Crusader's horse would be really cool. I think Meteor is pretty good, but I'd probably go with Teleport.
Yeah, I knew I liked you for a reason. All right, so you made it through. We're done with part
Nice.
B. There were so many others I could ask, but time is time.
All
money
your
is-
questions.
And money is money. All right, so here we are. We've reached the last major segment. And like we said in the intro, this one's going to be mainly about where the game has been in the past year and how far it has come. It has come quite a long ways. And quite suddenly, because there really hasn't been that many patches in between. It was just, this is what it is. This is the beta. This is how it is in Reaper of Souls. It's not like a World of Warcraft type scenario where you get 5, 6, 7 patches, and then you have the carryover patch, and then you have the new game. It's been quite sudden in comparison to other games that Blizzard has done. And then we'll move on into specifically, tackling the Crusader a little bit, since I know you've had some extensive testing of it in the Friends and Family beta and the closed beta as well. So just to give everyone a start point, Sibcoe and myself, we got together around, I would say about a year and a half ago. I reached out to him because I liked what he was doing. I felt that he was honest, maybe a little brutally honest on some points, but they were, I think, but even at that, I think they were well deserved, and they needed to be heard by Blizzard and by other people, and bring a little sanity to the community. And we went back and forth, and I got some contest items, and I offered him, I got these items. If you want to have a contest, and I'll ship it. You just tell me the person who won it. Just give me the address, I'll ship it, and I'll help you out, because you're doing good. And pretty much ever since then, with his State of Diablo podcast that he's done, he invited me on one, and then another, and then another, and then I feel like I'm almost become a weird semi-permanent fixture on the show whenever he does one.
Definitely.
And we've been going back ever forth since. So the frame of time that we're going to go for is beginning of last summer, when I knew, and well, both of us really knew, we were going to a summer where we were going to get no news whatsoever. It was basically going to be, as I dubbed it, the summer of discontent, where it was just going to be day in, day out Paragon grinding, and that's all we were getting until BlizzCon came out. So using that as a frame of reference, Sibcoe, how far, in a general sense, so we don't make this a 2-hour discussion by itself, but how far do you think the game has come since that point, from our last big point around beginning of last summer?
Wow. Yeah, about that. So, yeah, a long, long, long way. I mean, Diablo 3 has been the most bizarre development track I've ever seen. Not to name names and pull out old dirty laundry, but the game in its original conception was really good. It had amazing features. Absolutely amazing features. Somebody at Blizzard decided to remove them all. Literally almost 100% of them. Which at the time, and to an extent still think was a really horrible idea. The game suffered tremendously as a consequence of that. And what we were left with in the original Diablo was a shell of a game that, you know, really didn't do justice to the genre or to the franchise. Harsh, but true. And the team had the opportunity to try and fix that, or to just let it die, because die it was going to do. That was the only thing it was going to do, because it wasn't the quality that we should expect from that franchise. And, you know, what they did was bucked and threw all of the typical tropes and norms and expectations that players in the community had of a Diablo game, which was a really stupid thing to do. But they did it, and somehow, over the last year and a half, they've turned it into an enjoyable game. A game that has evolved the action RPG genre, added its own flavor, made its own statement, and become its own kind of game. As I've mentioned in the past in other videos and other things that I've made and that we've talked about, it's no longer a Diablo 2 clone. It's not Diablo 2 +++. It's Diablo 3. It's quite unique and different. And it takes the action RPG genre and takes it in a new direction. And from that point of view, it's actually a very big success. They've managed to turn around. They've introduced new systems, as I said, although it be immature systems. But overall, they've done some great things with the game. The basic fact remains, the game is insanely fun. It's some of the best graphics, if you want to call it the graphics. You know, the aesthetics of the game are phenomenal. The physics and combat engine are the best in the market, bar none. None are even a close second. There is no even runner-up. It is just Diablo 3 has the best physics and combat that any game has seen in the action RPG genre ever, pushing the boundaries all the way. I mean, when you actually watch dust tornadoes in Act 2, they pick up wood and tear it apart in the same way that a tornado tears apart things in real life. I mean, the physics is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's an amazing job. Whenever monsters fly across the screen, I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. So the game itself is insanely fun to play, and I think they've done something phenomenal, which is to take the genre and the game in a totally new direction and make that successful. Along the way, has it been bumpy? Oh my God, yes. It has been one of the bumpiest rides of any AAA, truly AAA title I've ever seen. I think they've redesigned the game, they've rebuilt the game, they've taken different philosophical approaches, and now they're heading back again towards some of those Diablo 2-esque types of feels. They're giving me, at least, and probably a lot of other people, the feeling that this is now a Diablo franchise game, but yet it still goes in its own direction, which is really, really cool. So I think what we have today is the combination of a massive amount of effort. You know, and I could certainly be hypercritical of it, and I could be hypercritical of the team. I think sometimes, you know, for example, the team are a little bit too set in their own thinking habits. They oftentimes, in interviews that I've heard, very much believe that they are right and everybody else is wrong. And I think that hurts them as a team. I think it hurts them to believe that their way is the only way. And that's a problem. To go the complete other direction and assume that your audience know everything and that they are all knowing and all powerful and you should do whatever they tell you, I think that's wrong as well. But I would like to see them strike more of a middle ground balance and give us their vision, but also infuse it with what the community is looking for. Overall, though, we've come a long way, man. It's a long, long way, to the point that there were times that I might have considered not buying the game and not continuing to support and play it, to the point now where I'm super pumped with getting done for work and getting done with my, you know, family duties and getting in my seat, and getting my drinks and food and getting ready to just kick ass in Sanctuary and have a ton of fun with Reaper of Souls coming out this week. I mean, yeah, that's a big accomplishment. And I think the community also feels the same way. And I think the community are responding and coming back to the game and giving it the support it deserves, because the game is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it really any better, but I can definitely tack on that. Yeah, it's definitely been a bumpy road, like worse than the pothole riddled roads left over from this winter up here in New York. There were definitely the ups and the downs, and it always seemed like for everything we got, we lost something along the way. Like one big thing to poke at was we were getting an extra stash tab, but legacy items you couldn't re-roll. So what's the point of getting an extra stash tab, because we were saving for legacy items that we're going to enchant, but now we can't, so we don't need those items, so that we don't need the stash tab anymore. But we'll take what we can get, and yeah, I mean, I've always said half the issue has been with the development team, half the issue has been with the community. The community, I think, needed to get its priorities straight, figure out what's actually really important versus what's on the edges, the frailed edges of all the extremes, because there's not just one side or another side. There's multiple different playstyles, multiple different concerns from the people that it's really been hard for the development team to figure out which way they want to go. So I think that's led to some of the more strong-headed approach the development team has had, because I think they realized they couldn't take every perspective role into the game as it is, because the game couldn't handle it. And to make it be that, it would have needed another 2 years of development time. They would have had to redo everything from scratch for like the 15th time. I think literally, if I added up in my head from all my past beta experience and the original Diablo 3 beta and everything we knew from the past BlizzCons before then in 2010, 9, and 8, I think. So, but yeah, definitely, it's been a long road, but the game is in such a better, well-off position now. It's almost unrecognizable compared to where it was a year ago as far as fun factor, which is big, as well as other things. So, definitely agree with everything you said, and just want to tap on those few other points.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that was the one topic we wanted to cover, just general consensus of where we are now. And the other one is, this was actually brought up to me over Twitter, is if we could discuss Crusader, and I'm like, I know one or two people who played Crusader, and Sibcoe is one of those two people who did play the crap out of it, so I can ask him. So this goes out to you. I forget the person who asked for it, but you see, this is how people influence the show. So what were your initial impressions of the Crusader as you were playing and leveling up? Is it really the mid-range caster, melee basher that they say it is? And throughout all the experiences and all the spells and abilities, is it unique enough that it fulfills and has its place among the heroes of Sanctuary?
Wow, that's a big question. Let's see. Let's start with leveling up experience. Leveling up the Crusader is one of the best experiences in the game. It's insanely fun. You will steamroll the crap out of everything in the game. It's really just fun. Leveling up the Crusader is just awesome. You'll have a blast. If you just get a little bit of gear saved up over the next couple of days, prep it. It's insanely fun. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If you find a couple of legendaries along the way, which you will, it's just madness, man. It's one of the premier experiences of the game. Everybody should level a Crusader to 70 just to have it leveled, because the leveling experience is the best in the game. Then you get to 70 and then it sucks. So when you first start out in the Crusader at level 70, you will feel the pain. It'll hurt. It reminds me a little bit of the Demon Hunter, a little bit, actually. Some of the challenges Demon Hunter has had, feeling a little bit underwhelming at certain phases of its development. Unlike classic The Wizard, that really relies a lot on skills, and the itemization becomes critical to all classes, but to some classes sooner than others. And to the Crusader, it becomes really important really fast. So the Crusader is very, very gear dependent, in my opinion. If any class truly is gear dependent in the game, the Crusader is definitely number one, along with the Barbarian. But all classes are gear dependent. But I'm just saying, Crusader, you really need to have some stuff, because the primary problem that you run into at max level with the Crusader is typically resource generation, a little bit similar to the problem that Barb's having. I think the resource generation is a little bit on the low side, a little bit on the slow side. It's not so much the amount of resource, it's the how quickly you can regenerate it. I think that the couple of nerfs that the Crusader went through in the beta have been unnecessary, and overall I think it is a slow pace. Now, the concept behind the Crusader of being a tank on the battlefield, I don't mean like a tank as in, I'm tanking the DPS, not that kind of Holy Trinity concept, but like I'm a big armored vehicle with guns. that actual concept was what they set out philosophically to accomplish in designing the Crusader, and they succeeded. The Crusader feels like a tank. In other words, it does move quite slowly in comparison to other classes. It does feel kind of bulky and large and slow, but at the same time does devastating damage and can take massive amount of punishment. It's an interesting class because it doesn't get the 30% damage reduction that monks and barbs get, for example, which is strange and probably should be fixed. But that being said, the Crusader does an awesome job. The Crusader is a lot of fun to play. The Crusader definitely speaks to that mid-range melee type of style. It absolutely has that. If you want to play that, you can absolutely do that on the Crusader, and you will have a lot of fun doing it. And we'll get into certain skills in a second, but overall, the Crusader is very well designed. It's just designed in a certain playstyle that a lot of people may not like. And I wouldn't say a lot of people may not like, some people may not like. I, for one, really enjoyed it, generally speaking. You'll definitely be inspired, as I said, to pick up gear quickly and to have gear. That may become a frustration point, and you may find it challenging to kill as fast as some of the other classes currently can kill. Yes, I'm looking at you, Wizard. The Wizard can clear the battlefield pretty snappily, but the Crusader will definitely do a little bit slower. I think in group play, the Crusader is amazing. I think absolutely tons and tons and tons of fun. If you're looking for a fast, clear class, it's not the Crusader. If you just want to mow enemies down super fast, that's probably not the Crusader, but it can be. You just need the right gear. So overall, I would say the Crusader is interesting from the point of view that it can be anything you want it to be as long as you have the gear. And it's a good representation of where Diablo 3 is going, in that gear is becoming really, really critical to every build. The game is very much revolving around gear. It's revolving around set bonuses. It's revolving around legendary affixes. It's revolving around certain stats, and it's just going to keep going that direction, it seems like. And overall, I think the Crusader really feels that the hardest because the Crusader is designed under that philosophy. So as you get gear, though, the Crusader becomes a beast. An absolute beast. If you're willing to put in the time and you're willing to gear it out, you become a monster. And that is when it starts to get really insanely fun again. You become essentially unkillable. And you become super, super powerful and strong, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I would just to quickly add, I would think the Crusader probably has the best shot at max level to be probably one of the first tier 6, Torment 6 clearing classes, because it just has the ability to just take so much punishment and heal, or just not take damage with certain times, especially with cooldown reduction. That it's just an awesome, unique class.
Yeah. I mean, as I remember from the beta, certainly the Friends and Family beta, and even a little bit into the beta, you got guys running around with 25 to 28 million defense. And then you have, on top of that, 1.5 million or more, DPS. It's insane. It's insanely powerful. The shields are really cool. It's finally about time that Blizzard, had a shield class, and the Crusader is very much a shield class. When you attack, even though the attacks are not as fast and furious as a monk, they're not as consistent as maybe a wizard. But when you hit like a Mack truck. I mean, it's really cool, and it's really fun. There's also a lot of different builds you can go with. There's a lot of different style of builds, which I really like, and certainly some of them are faster than others. But there are some really cool builds, whether you're looking at Blessed Shield, or whether you're looking at Blessed Hammer, or a Fist of the Heavens. There's a lot of different approaches. The basic attacks in and of themselves are really cool and have a lot of different approaches to them as well. There's the concept of these laws having these constantly active buffs, a little bit like the monk. You could almost think of the Crusader as this kind of strange hybrid of the barbarian and the monk, and then taking that to a new level. It's really, really interesting. Philosophically, it's a cool class. The lore behind it is really cool. This loner kind of religious zealot out there trying to purge the, Zakharum of infidelity, of the poison from all this kind of stuff. Really, really cool. Picking up where the Paladin left off in Diablo 2, where the Paladin was more of a group-orientated concept, where you have multiple Paladins, in the lore. I'm not talking about in the game, but in the lore, in the story, you have a military unit of Paladins. Whereas the Crusader is out on his own with his follower, purging the Zakarum of evil, if you like, or whatever you want to call it. But that's what I understand anyway. And it's really, really cool concept. It's a really cool story to play. And I think anybody that plays it will have a lot of fun.
Great. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I mean, I played it. I got one leveled up from 1 to 70. I fortunately didn't have that much time to play with it because by the time I did it, that was when the first major wipe from the Friends and Family beta to the closed beta happened, and I just didn't want to do it all over again to level it up, because that's when all the major experienced nerfs came in with or the bounty nerfs. That's when the first of several came in. I was like, I don't have enough time to do this. I have to do my wizard, get it from 60 to 70 again, get all those nice juicy legendaries, and just do a whole bunch of fun stuff. But the Crusader definitely seems a lot of fun. They didn't change that much from BlizzCon last year to when it went into the Friends and Family, so they didn't do too much tweaking. But I think if you're interested in that kind of Smash style, as you said before, kind of like a hybrid between the Monk and Barbarian, if that is appealing to you at all, you should really give the Crusader a shot. I think it really should be in everyone's best interest to just level up whatever characters you're main. Like for myself, it'll be Wizard. I'm just gonna get my Wizard up to 70, do some rare it out with the gambling, and then I'm probably gonna give the Crusader a shot. I'll level it up, I'll enjoy the process, and just have it. If anything, just for the achievements for achievement's sake.
Yeah, and also if you like classes that have synergies, the Crusader has a ton of synergies between passives and actual active abilities and gear. The Crusader synergizes really, really well in many different ways, and it's really fun to play with that. So if you like that, it can become insanely powerful too. But again, it's gear dependent because you're looking for synergies from gear as well as from passives. You're looking from the whole grid, and that in and of itself takes some time. But overall, like I said, if you invest the time and get the gear to make the passives and the synergies, between them work really well, it can be beastly.
Yes, definitely. And if you're going into it with a lot of Paragon points, just max out movement. Just max out movement speed. You'll be fine.
Definitely.
All right. So we're getting towards the end of the show. Basically, what I'll do is, are there any other thoughts or concepts we can just touch on briefly that you may have missed throughout the interview or topics we discussed?
I don't think so. I mean, we covered a lot. It was good. Overall, I'm just really excited for the game to come out. I think the game's in a really good place. And, certainly if you've been someone that's been on the fence and didn't like where it went initially, I think you're going to find that it's really a lot of fun in its current iteration. It's really, really good. I think they have a lot of work to do in giving it the longevity that Diablo 2 had, and World of Warcraft had, and StarCraft has, but overall it's going in the right direction. Very, very excited about it, and I just can't wait to get in and start finding these sets, man, and these legendaries, and leveling up, and the overall experience of the game, the story. If one of the principles of design of Blizzard that I understand is fulfilling the fantasy, and I think that Diablo 3 today in its current iteration in Reaper of Souls is a lot closer to fulfilling the fantasy of playing these characters than any iteration of Diablo 3 to date. So from that point alone, I think really cool stuff.
Awesome. All right. So, before I officially close out the show, where can people reach you? Twitter, Facebook, all that lovely stuff. Plug away.
Absolutely. So, plug style, you can reach me at redteamgaming.com, where I have a blog, which will be getting more updates here as we move into launch. And you can also find me at youtube.com/redteamgaming, where I have a pretty good YouTube channel that people seem to enjoy. And again, they'll be getting more activity here as we move into the week. I've intentionally been taking a break from blogging and videoing because I want to prep for the launch of the game and kind of blast out then with stuff as that comes out. So that's going to be happening over the next 48 hours. We're going to see more stuff come out. And then in addition to that, I'm also on Twitter at Red Team Gaming. And that's those are the three best places.
All right. So with that, I'd like to thank you for participating in this interview. Hope you enjoyed. And with that, Scythe and Shield number 2 is closed. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.